4 decades after a Boeing employee was found murdered in her Kent home, her accused killer is finally behind bars. Kent police say he was identified by genetic genealogy from evidence left at the scene. And tonight, the victim's family is talking exclusively with Fox 13 about the arrest that gives hope to other grieving loved ones.
It took a long time, but we did it.
More than 9 years after Kent PD Sergeant Tim Ford reopened the 1980 cold case murder of 30-year-old Dorothy Silzel, he shared the news of an arrest with her family, who had gathered at her gravesite in Renton.
And we finally did it Tuesday.
Yes.
His long search for a killer took him to Clinton, Arkansas, where 65-year-old Kenneth Dwayne Kundert was living in a trailer on a 32-acre piece of land.
Tim has definitely elevated the Kent Police Department very high.
Dottie's sister-in-law, Carol Yonser, says word of the capture released more than 44 years of emotions.
They all came flooding back.
Her husband, Ken, Dottie's brother, remembers racing to his sister's condo after Kent police found her nude body.
Carol calls me and says screaming something going on, and I had an old 55 Ford pickup. I must have did 100 miles an hour.
Dottie was the youngest sister in the Yonser family of 9. She was single, lived alone, and worked as an instructor at Boeing. She volunteered for Special Olympics as a hugger for the athletes crossing the finish line.
And there's a picture of her and a group of huggers that they were all happy to share those hugs with. Everyone in Special Olympics.
Her niece, Leanne Milligan, idolized her.
I remember when we were little kids, she would hand sew a whole box of Barbie doll clothes, a shoebox full, and give them to all of her nieces, when we were little. And I mean, she was that kind of person.
Yeah. Leanne was 20 when Dottie was killed and says the murder hurt her dad to the core. He died in 2016.
In fact, the first thing that happened when we found out he'd been arrested is I just wanted to pick up the phone and call my dad. I just wanted to say, Dad, we got him.
Kundert's arrest is only the first step in their tortured journey to find out exactly what happened and why.
First it was outrage, and then it was just overwhelming joy that we get some closure, and hopefully we can convict this guy of doing what he did. He's a monster.
On the last night she was seen alive, Dottie left Gaetano's Pizza, where she worked some nights to make extra money. It was only 3 blocks from her home. When she didn't show up at Boeing for the next 2 days, a family friend and a Kent PD officer went to her condo. They found the front door locked, the sliding back door forced open. Dottie was on the 2nd floor in her sewing room, her robe wrapped around her left arm. The autopsy showed she'd been beaten in the head, sexually assaulted, and strangled. As the case stretched on without an arrest, her siblings wondered if it would ever get solved.
People were doubtful. There's no way they're going to spend money for DNA.
In 2015, then Detective Ford started organizing the evidence as DNA technology started to bring new leads on old homicides. A year later, the State Patrol Crime Lab used a semen sample from Dottie's robe to obtain a profile for the killer. But when they ran it through the National CODIS database of known criminals, no match was found. Then, in 2022, a forensic genealogist at Identifinders International in California located ancestry matches for 11 potential suspects. By 2023, she had narrowed the list down to Kenneth Kundert and his brother. Kenneth refused to let his DNA be tested. His brother, though, volunteered a sample and was cleared. Detectives learned both were working in Washington State in 1980, but they found no connection between Kundert and Dottie. Then they discovered his brother lived in an apartment just 1,200 feet from Dottie's front door. On March 22nd this year, detectives flew to Arkansas. Court documents detail what happened next. They followed Kundert's pickup truck and saw him holding an all-white cigarette in his left hand as it hung out of a driver's door window. When he got out of the truck, he dropped the cigarette butt in a receptacle outside a Walmart store. There were only 3 all-white butts inside. All were tested, and from one of them, the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab obtained a DNA profile that matched the suspect in Dottie's case.
To the people who, in other cases, have killed someone and assume they've gotten away with it, you should be nervous about every knock on the door, because it doesn't matter how many years it has been, that knock is coming for you at some point.
This is a picture of Dottie with Mom and Dad Yonser in our backyard.
The word justice means to make right.
44 and a half years after Dottie was taken from her family in the most horrific way possible, she's bringing them together grateful for the tenacity it took to get here.
Tim, thank you for all those hours behind the scenes.
And making plans to all be there when Kenneth Kundert finally has his day in court. Prosecutors have charged him with murder in the first degree.
DNA does tell at least the last part of the story. Where it goes from here, we don't know. But we do know that we all feel gratitude.
The Kent Police Department is holding a news conference tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock to share more about the arrest and the case. We will stream it live for you on our Fox Local app and at fox13seattle.com.